Welcome back, El Rushbone, the cutting edge of societal evolution. Here's Doug McKelway. He's at Fox. This was from yesterday afternoon on Fox News. His report about his experience at the protests in Charlottesville on Saturday.
People were intent on causing havoc and causing damage. And even as wounded were being brought out of the park, the police were sitting idly by. I was standing by a cordoned-off area where the police had set up as a staging area. The state police had set up, and they said, you can come in here. This is a safe area. But when the tear gas started to fly, thrown by protesters, the police themselves began to evacuate that. I asked the guy who was in charge, I said, where are you going? He said, we're leaving. It's too dangerous. They had an opportunity to nip this thing in the bud, and they chose not to.
Chose not to, which leads me to ask a question. Who wanted this to happen? And I firmly believe there's an answer to that. And I would hope that an investigation would uncover that information, because this need not have happened. Somebody thought they would benefit from this, just like somebody thought they would benefit from Ferguson, just like somebody or some people thought they would benefit from Baltimore. Somebody thought they would benefit from this. That's why this happened. The cops let it happen. Somebody told them to stand down. I don't believe that a police force in unison chickened out and ran for the tall grass once the protesters started throwing tear gas. There are just a lot of unanswered questions about this. The media wants it to be a certain way, and so that's their narrative. The media narrative is that a bunch of skinhead neo-Nazi Klan members decided to march in Virginia in protest of removing Civil War statues such as Robert E. Lee. And then some very peaceful, progressive, anti-bigot and anti-racist mainstream Americans showed up to protest the people who wanted to defend the Civil War monuments. And the deranged Klan and the white supremacists then started killing the peaceful, progressive, average, ordinary American citizens. That is the narrative that the media wants everybody to believe. In fact, there were two opposite, opposing, warring factions, those made up of the Nazis, the skinheads, and the white supremacists, and the ANTA. That's short for anti-fascists. These are the people that show up every global summit, every meeting of any it's going to be attracting any major media attention. This group, the anarchists, show up and they start setting things on fire, and they've been doing it since the 60s. And they're bought and paid for. They showed up in Ferguson. They showed up in Baltimore. They showed up in Seattle over the weekend. They are not people who are sitting around minding their own business watching baseball on Saturday afternoon, who then learn that the Nazis are coming to town and decide to get up off the couch and go protest it. Nobody like that was involved in this. Two extreme fringe groups. The difference is that Republicans are supposed to condemn all of the skinheads and the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists, while Barack Obama invites the left-wing groups to the White House and honors them. People like Black Lives Matter. Now, I know we're not supposed to compare presidents. And I know we're not really supposed to try to illustrate the hypocrisy because it never works. So I won't mention Barack, my grandmother's a typical white person Obama, and his meetings with Robert Kramer at the White House. Robert Kramer is the man who was hiring protesters to go disrupt Donald Trump rallies during the presidential campaign. He was paying them. He was hiring professional protesters and the homeless, anybody he could get there, to go to Trump rallies and pretend to be Trump supporters, beating up on people in there, as well as protesters of Trump. Kramer is a convicted felon who was caught up in a pair of sting operations, visited the White House 342 times, according to Obama's records, including several visits to the family residence and the Oval Office. Robert Kramer was caught on one hidden camera video discussing ways to commit large-scale voter fraud and talking in another about paying liberal activists to start fights and otherwise disrupt Donald Trump rallies. And I know we're not supposed to mention the guy that attempted to assassinate a bunch of House Republicans who were engaging in baseball practice, also in Virginia. We're not supposed to mention that. And when we do, we're supposed to understand he might have been psychologically disturbed, and he might not have been all there.